Welcome to Monsoon season. Olivia, welcome. I start the podcast. It's tradition around here in our Monsoon season house to always start the podcast with taking 3 breaths. It helps me, it helps the guests, and most importantly, anyone listening, please follow along. So we're going to take 3 deep breaths, okay, together. And so wherever you are, find a comfortable seat. If you're sitting on the floor, or in a chair, laying down, doesn't matter. Don't do this while driving, but take a moment to kind of just look around your surroundings and just take stock of where you are. Just maybe name in your mind 3 or 4 objects in your surroundings. I got some glasses, I got a mug, a can of Arizona green tea. And then we're gonna just flutter our eyes closed when we're ready and just settle into the body. Bring attention to the breath. And notice how, as soon as you bring attention to the breath, it transforms. I don't have to say relax your breath or breathe deeply or any of that. As long as you bring attention to the breath, it will change. Place any hand on your heart. We're going to take 3 breaths. The inhales are going to come in through the nose, and the exhale is going to be open mouth, long exhales. Okay, so let's begin. Inhale. When you're at the top, sip in a little bit more. Exhale slow and steady. Beautiful. 2 more. Inhale. Fill up. Exhale when you're ready. Last one. Think about when you're inhaling, saying the word let in your mind, and when you're exhaling, saying the word go. Last one, best one. Inhale deep. Exhale, go. Wherever you are, just take a moment to tip your chin slightly. Tuck your chin in. And let's just take a moment to dedicate this conversation and anything that is said in the next hour in really beautiful company with all these people. Anything that's shared, all the insights, all the stories, all the vulnerable moments, everything is an offering. It's not for Olivia or I, but it is for all beings. Or maybe just one person who really needs to hear that story, that message, that joke, whatever it is. With a generous heart and with a generous mind, we give it all away. And when you are ready, you can flutter your eyes open.
How lovely. Wow, I was not expecting that.
I like to keep you on your toes, Olivia.
Oh, so nice. It's so, I feel so calm.
Good. Yeah, sometimes there's we're all coming from different parts of our day, right? We're all over the globe. We're all arriving from back-to-back meetings or work, wherever we are, coffee with a friend. And it's so nice to just anchor together.
Agreed.
Welcome everyone to Monsoon season. I just wanted to take a moment to introduce the podcast and Olivia to the whole community. So Monsoon season is like a podcast that really celebrates and is like devoted to culture, consciousness, and creative courage. And everything I do is really rooted in this idea and this thesis that the more we share like the vulnerable, sticky parts of us, the more we share like those monsoons, those rainstorms, that becomes like the very mechanism in how we help and serve and water the world around us. And so everyone I bring onto that podcast is doing that very thing and embodying that. And I'm so excited, Olivia, that you're here. You have been on my dream roster for a long time, and it's taken me a while to muster the courage to invite you, but she very enthusiastically and lovingly accepted this invitation. So I feel truly, truly honored to have you on the podcast. And for those of you who don't know, clearly we have a whole village of people who are like rallying around Olivia already who are here. But just to introduce you to the audience, Olivia is a full-time writer and best-selling Substack coach. She's originally from sunny California and now currently lives in the south of France with her partner, like right by the Mediterranean Sea, living all of our fantasies. She coaches women all around the world on how to create a creative business that you truly, truly love and feels like deeply aligned. And she's the queen of the 3 pillars on 3-pillar content. And her pillars, she writes about living abroad. She writes about how to Substack. And also my favorite, she writes about how to like truly step into like main character energy in your day-to-day life. She's obsessed with coffee shops as much as I am and pastries. And if anything, you are the epitome of what it means to be a badass. Welcome, Olivia.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Wow, I'm honored. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Amazing. So I'm kind of gonna like I'm keeping things open to kind of see the serendipitous moments that can happen in this episode, which I always love to do. And one thing I know about you is that you love to pull tarot cards. It's not something you do kind of like in your Substack universe, but it's something you do in your personal daily practice. And I would love if you could pull a card today for us and just set the tone of what is this conversation and this moment going to feel like.
Okay, I can absolutely do this, but I'm likely going to have to look up the meaning because I'm not a tarot guru. I just like to occasionally pull them.
Yeah.
But I love this and I'm going to go for it. Okay. I pulled the 7 of Cups.
Cool. Do we
Well,
know?
I don't know what it means.
Anyone knows what the 7 of Cups means?
If anyone knows, please get in the chat ASAP, but I'm also Googling it. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's like abundance or something. I might be wrong. I might be just bullshitting it right now.
Okay. The 7 of Cups asks you to make the impossible possible, to actively manifest your desires rather than admiring them as daydreams. Wow, this feels very on point. In order to put in this energy, you may need to let some dreams go. Focus on what really lights you up, and don't be afraid to leave some of your dreams behind, if only just for now.
Ooh, I think that's
Wow.
so like, oh yeah, show us the visual. We need a visual. It's so wild because so much of what I was like when I was prepping and researching your life and your work, the thread that I kept finding was this story about surrendering what we expected and what our plans are for ourselves and like releasing the grip on that plan and that expectation in order to let the life that wants to come through. And it's kind of wild that that card kind of hits that on the nose.
Yeah. I feel like it's very aligned with like my story and also like how I show up on Substack and like how I encourage people to like live their lives. And so I
Yeah,
agree.
amazing. Yep. That's it. That's the end of the show.
That's it. We're done.
The
Bye.
universe has already done the work for us. Beautiful. So, my first question, I always like to break the ice with my guests. And my first question is that um, you write a lot. You've been writing online for a very, very long time. And I found you through Substack, of course. But my favorite piece of writing happens to be something you wrote back in 2016 when you were still in college. And you wrote for a little magazine called Study Break.
Oh God,
And
no.
you wrote an article. Yes, we're going there. You wrote a little article for Study Break magazine where you spent one night visiting 3 of the most notorious strip clubs in Portland.
Yes.
And I need you to tell us, like, when you think back to that night, like, what
Yeah.
is one memory that pops into your head? And what the hell is Stripparaoke?
um, this was like my college internship. I was like, I thought I wanted to be a journalist. And so this was this great internship I had that like every week I pitched um, 3 article ideas to the editor and they gave me one. And I was going to college in Portland, Oregon, which is like, there's more strip clubs per capita in Portland than any other city in America. So like going to the strip club is like not a weird thing in
Mhm.
Portland. Like I always try to
Like
explain
going
this
to
to people.
Starbucks.
Yeah, it's like not a weird thing. You just like if you're going out, for example, like it's not weird to just like go out with your friends to Sassy's and like have drinks. Like it's not weird. So I went to just like 3 of the, kind of like the oldest one, the one that was like has been around in Portland since the land of time. The one that all the young people were going to, the millennials, like, all the millennials were going to. Also, I was not 21 yet either. I was using a fake ID. And the last one I don't even really remember why or what we went for. I
But with
wish I could tell you I remember more from that night or I have a strong memory. I think I just remember being with one of my closest friends at the time at Sassy's, which again is like the one everyone went to that was anyone, and like just admiring the women that were like 10 feet in the air, like flipping around in these, sassy little lingerie outfits and being like, okay, damn, these ladies are badass.
yeah, it's really funny because I feel like that was like the inception of main character energy. Like it was somehow like being in those strip clubs, like the way you wrote about it was just like seeing people, like women walking around, like just truly like being in their body and like being fully confident in who they are. But I had to ask, as like a recreational pole dancer, I had to ask this question because it's just too good to not ask.
I will
Um,
say one thing, that article ended up like breaking a record for the website and brought like more views than any other article had ever brought to Study Breaks. And there was like a lot of like debate in the comments, and the main argument was like was kind of empowering women and empowering like, the feminist side of strippers. And I talked about a stripper that was like, working her way through law school and like, yeah. So the comments were very fiery, and I think that's what broke the record was all the discussion. But those were the days. Wow, you really went back in time.
yes, it's funny. The comment section had me cracking up. It was mostly like middle-aged men arguing about the best strip club, and who knew that that's where everything would start popping off for you in your writing career.
Who knew?
I love it. Um, Something that you really like openly talk about, and that I think was the first thing that really drew me into you and your world, is how vulnerable and open you've always been about your sobriety and your journey with sobriety. And one of like the things you've written that I want to share is you write everything I have today, the emotional maturity, the relationship, the life in France, the stable business, the financial freedom. It's all because of my sobriety. And I also know that when you decided to first get sober, you recorded a video of talking to yourself. And I just want to ask if you could take us back to that moment where you decided to get sober and what was going down in your mind and in your life that made you feel like enough is enough. Like I
Oh,
have to
yeah.
do this.
Yeah, definitely. I have that video, and I just celebrated my 5th sober anniversary on the 17th of
Yes.
June. So yeah, 5 years sober. But I usually watch that video around that time every year, and it's like, oh God, I hate watching it. It's so like, it's just sad, like it like makes me cringe, but it's also just like very sad. Like in that video, I say things like, I want to love and be loved. Like I really did not feel like I mean, I really hated myself at the time. And I was in a relationship that was not very loving. And, I said, I want like a big, beautiful life. And it's really sad to watch, but it's like I watch it and I just am like, yeah, amazed at how far I've come. But I mean, it's a long story, but the shortest version I'll give is like, um, addiction and alcoholism definitely runs in my family. And I knew that it was probably going to be dangerous for me. I remember my grandma telling me always growing up, like, be careful around alcohol, but I was already drinking at this point, but um the party girl persona really just became my identity. I also had a really severe I still deal with a really severe, like, specific phobic anxiety, that I, like, work with a therapist on now, and, like, I'm medicated, but, as a kid, I didn't know how to communicate these things, and so the first time I drank alcohol, I was like, wow, it was like I felt like the biggest sense of peace I had ever felt in my life. And which is, you hear that a lot in recovery, like that exact sentence, you hear that a lot. It's like you drink for the first time and you feel like normal. You feel like everyone else in the world you expect feels just on a day to day basis.
Like
um,
noise, maybe the mental noise gets like turned down.
Exactly. And that's exactly it. Yeah. But yeah, it was just my identity. Like throughout high school, I was the party girl, into college. Like, as I said, going to the strip clubs, having fun. Um, but after college, I graduated and I moved to Minneapolis. I got like my first big girl job. I was in college, I was just bartending and serving, which as another, enforcer of bad behavior, if anyone in this has been in the service industry. Um, and I got into a relationship with someone that also I'm not going to diagnose anyone, but also was a heavy drinker. And the 4 years that we were together, it just really started to go downhill. People say like it was fun, and then it was fun with problems, and then it was just problems. And like our relationship was like the fun with problems part. We were very different drinkers, and I thought he had the problem. Like he was the type of drinker that like could go weeks without drinking, but then when he did drink it, he like couldn't walk, he couldn't talk, he like couldn't make it to the bathroom. So I was like, he was just like a non-functioning human. I, on the other hand, um was a daily drinker. So from the time I turned 18 until I got sober at 27, I drank literally every day. I even, one day, like I went to the hospital and I got out of the hospital and I was drinking that night, and I didn't think I had a problem because I knew exactly how much I could drink every night and still wake up and be functional the next day, which was 2 bottles of wine. If anyone is drinking 2 bottles of wine a night, like that's an issue.
Mhm.
Um, when the pandemic hit, I started to go on these benders. I started to have these benders. And so I didn't have a job. It was the first time in my life I had like nothing keeping me accountable. And I just started to go on these benders, and the longest one lasted a month. I was drinking the whole time. And I was terrified. I didn't know how to get out of it. I was having to wake up in the middle of the night to drink because of like withdrawal symptoms. And I was really, really scared. So I weaned myself off. My intention was I'm going to wean myself off to zero, to I'm going to be sober. Like alcohol is not my friend. But I couldn't. And so I ended up, I got out of that. I ended up like getting back to my normal drinking habits. But I also knew that this was not a good time in my life and I needed some help. So I decided to move home to California, be with family. My intention that whole year, the whole first year I was in California, was to get sober. And I really, really tried on my own because that kept happening. I didn't have another month-long bender. There was nothing ever as severe as that month-long bender. But yeah, like I lost a job, I was just basically by myself alone in my apartment drinking. And I wish I could say there was some big, like, crazy event that brought me into recovery, into a 12-step program. But literally, it was just like, I woke up one morning and was like, I cannot do this anymore. Like, I cannot believe this is my fucking life. Like, I hate it. And like I said, I took that video the night before. No, the day that I went to my first meeting. I went to my first meeting drunk. I couldn't do it anyment Like I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I just, I went, and I didn't know if it would stick. I didn't know if I was going to be like, oh, this is just some funny story, or I went to a recovery meeting one time and it's, a funny story I can tell at a party someday. I didn't know if I was really going to keep it up, but something, some higher power kind of stepped in, and I've been sober ever since that first meeting. So.
And that's the short version. I know that there are so many ebbs and
very
flows,
short,
like peaks and valleys of getting sober. And I have a lot of friends in recovery, and it is a daily thing, and that people are working through. I was literally going to say the words like what I've noticed for a lot of people's wake up call, it always comes down to getting sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's like something I also relate to. Like when I was in my deepest moments of depression and chronic anxiety and having panic attacks, it's like you have to get kind of in a way disgusted with your own bullshit, and just that sometimes is like the very thing that ignites like and sparks the journey of recovery or healing. You moved back to California, like I think 2021, you moved into an apartment behind your grandparents' house. When you were there, if you could, the Olivia that was going through her first year of recovery, like if you could just send a message to her from your future self, which is technically you right now, like what's the message you would tell her?
I would say, do not get caught up in the little things, like, okay, there's a lot of cute boys. I had crushes on people. Like I wanted to like date someone. I wanted this, I wanted that. Around my 1 year, I was dating this guy and I was literally heartbroken when it ended. Like I was so sad. I would just be like, girl, you don't know what's coming. Like you have no idea what's freaking coming. So just wait a little bit and you'll see, like, we got some fun plans for you. But that's kind of been a recurring theme. I mean, my whole life I've kind of, I think, and maybe internally had that belief, but in recovery, definitely it's taught me like, yeah, sometimes things don't work out the way we want, but like, I just always trust that, there's something, it's happening for some reason, because, if the things I wanted would have worked out I would not be here, you know. And that's just incredible to me. So yeah.
Yep. Stop with the crushes. Stop. I know I was crazy, boy crazy in my 20s. Yeah, in hindsight, it's 2020, right?
Yeah.
I love that, we've talked a little bit about this, but like one of the themes that you talk about all the time is main character energy. Like, how did you know that you were not living as the main character? And like, what kind of habits or mindsets did you have to change in order to like really fully step into it?
You know, I feel like even now, like I'm not, like I don't always fully feel like I'm living as the main character. You know, I think just as humans, it's probably impossible to feel that way all the time. Um, you know, I kind of embody main character energy with this idea of like you have agency over your life and you can be the architect of your own life. And um, you know, you have the power to take chances, you know, like say no, say yes. It took time for me to start to understand that like I was allowed to build a version of my life that maybe didn't align with society. Like, for example, when I got sober, I really thought kind of my path was going to be like find a partner, get married, have kids, buy a house. I never really allowed myself to think of anything else just because that's what society told me. I knew my parents wanted grandchildren. Like, I had never really gotten to know myself very well before sobriety. And so I didn't really know what I wanted. But I think through this journey of recovery and like doing the work on myself and getting to know myself, and starting to understand what I wanted, and like one of my dreams had always been traveling as a digital nomad. Like I always wanted to do that. Like once I realized I could actually do these things and there was nothing stopping me, like that's kind of when I think I started to feel like, okay, I am the main character in my own story. I am designing this life that I love, and it might not be the life that I thought I was going to have, or my parents thought I was going to have, or society expected of me, but like I have that power. Um, I think there's like this kind of correlation between like main character energy and like romanticizing your life. And like a lot of times my life does not look super romantic. Like I struggle, you know, with the same things a lot of people struggle with. Like I had a low mental health week last week and like my life was not super glamorous. However, yeah, like I'm living in the south of France. I'm, you know, like going to sushi with my partner tonight. Like we're going to walk along the ocean, you know, so it's definitely, I think, something that we can embody and something that we can like kind of strive for, but also being realistic that we are humans and we're not always going to be the main character, and life is not perfect and life is not always beautiful and we can't always romanticize everything. It's kind of a long-winded answer, but that's how I feel about that.
That's a perfect answer. And I love that you're not trying to force it, right? Like a lot of people are like, I'm going to force myself to step into this character, but like just honoring where we are and like giving ourselves like space to like get out of our comfort zone and step into the main character when we feel like resourced and when we feel nourished, you know. And then if we're having a bad week mentally or otherwise, like it's okay to be a background character in moments, you know. That's like even the best actor, I think about like Denzel Washington or like actors and like my favorite actors in movies, like they're not always like they don't always have the words either. Like in a scene, they're like sometimes like the most powerful people are just who are present in the background and allowing other people to shine in their moments, and like picking and choosing is like it's like a dance, right? Like with ourselves that we have to do with like picking the choose and choosing the moments when to step out and shine and like when to retreat and like nourish ourselves.
Yeah.
Something that I know like many people are struggling with is, you know, like the job market is a shit show. Like people are getting laid off left and right. And people are, and I say people, including myself in this cohort, but many of us are like gripping onto our like jobs or our past identities, afraid to like let go and like take the leap and take the risk. What would you like say to someone who like doesn't think that it's possible for them to be an entrepreneur and do work that they care about full time?
Yeah. I mean, I would say it is. That's the simple answer, but I would say like you can do it in a very like safe and strategic way. I feel very well, I always was freelancing even when I had a 9 to 5 job. I like was kind of freelance writing on the side for like this, little tiny listicle articles and anything I could get. I always wanted to be a writer. So, but then the pandemic, like as tragic as that time was, it was also this very interesting time where I was able to grow a freelance business because I had nowhere else to be and nowhere to go. But I would say that you can do it in such a intentional and strategic way. Like all you need to start is one client. Um, one client to start building your portfolio if you want to do copywriting or design work or whatever. I'm just going to use copywriting as an example, but one client and like do it on the weekends, like 5 hours on a weekend, like, copywriting. That believes that like builds the belief in yourself, that builds your portfolio. But I think just starting to get your feet wet and like starting to practice the trade. You don't have to like quit your job and like change your life overnight. Like you can take small steps to get there. And that could look like, again, getting a client, doing like 5 hours of work on the weekend. Maybe that turns into a second client. I think there's always a phase where it gets crazy, and it gets busy like right before you make the leap. For example, like last year when I was building my Substack and working full time as a copywriter, like life was crazy. I was really busy. I did not have a lot of time to do like lifey things. I didn't feel like I was like, I definitely felt like I was working more than I was living, which is not the life I want, but I knew that it wouldn't always be that way. I knew that this was like a temporary sacrifice for something that was going to be a life that was like much more closer and aligned to my dreams.
Absolutely.
So start small, build the belief in yourself, do it alongside your full-time job, and like slowly but surely you'll get to the point where you can make the leap.
Something I want to share is like I hired you, Olivia, like a few, weeks ago, almost months ago, because I was really starting to like dream about going full time on Substack. I really wanted to make this podcast a thing because I felt like I was playing business, but not like building business, if that makes sense. Like I was kind of fantasizing too much and like not really fully stepping in with full conviction. And so something I want to offer to anyone listening too is like seeing someone else do it is like being in proximity to them is like also a beautiful way to see the possibility in you. Like I hired you and signed up for office hours because I was like, my belief kept going on and off. Like there were some days where I really fucking believed I could do it, and then there were so more days where I didn't think I could make it. And so when I saw you fully like lock into that, I was like, can I be in closer proximity to someone like you that is doing it? And when we had our consultation, the last thing I said to you right before I logged off, and this is like, it's very emotional to say this, but like Olivia was like fucking mind blowing. She like ripped my Substack to shreds and gave me the best advice. But I remember before we logged off our call, you said, "Do you have any questions?" And I said, "Is it possible for me?" And you said, "Yes." And that's all I just needed to hear. Like sometimes you just need someone who is doing it to say like it's possible, like it is
Yeah.
possible. And just hearing that from you, I was like, damn, I was like, Olivia believes in me. Now I could do it. I could do anything. And I felt like it gave me so much courage. And sometimes we have to channel and like borrow courage when we don't have it ourselves. And that's why it's important that we put our offers out into the world, because we don't know like where people are at. And I just want to thank you for giving me that borrowed courage to like fucking go for it, you know?
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that you felt that way. I want to also say here, I think like there's always this, we can put ourselves out there. We can try. Like if you want to pivot from a full-time job to a full-time Substack, let's say, and you do what I said and you start by, or you want to pivot to like a full-time freelancer and you start by like bringing on one client a week. And, you know, there are times though where it doesn't work out. Like we kind of talked about earlier, like there are things that I think just are not meant to be. And yes, I have been successful on Substack, but I have tried so many other things. Like I have had so many failed side hustles. Always was a freelance copywriter, but I always wanted to do my own thing. I always wanted to do my own personal brand, So like for example, the last big one I tried was to do a digital nomad coaching. I wanted to be like a digital nomad coach, and I had this whole like program. I was putting a course together. And at the time, I really, really wanted that to work out, and it didn't, So like, yes, I have found success on Substack, and yes, this has worked for me, but like so many things before have not worked for me. And I think I just want to like tell people, don't be discouraged if that happens to you. If you try something, or if you know, want to do the thing and you like have all your hope in it and it doesn't work, because something else is out there, and I expect it's waiting for you and it's better. Like this, I didn't even know about Substack when I was doing all those other things, but like it's so aligned. Like it just feels like it clicked and it was
Mhm.
meant to be. So
That's
yeah, I just want to also insert that reminder.
Yeah, that very big footnote is very important. Yeah, there are so many things I've failed at building a beauty brand, and like countless other endeavors in my entrepreneurial like quest, and that doesn't get talked about enough. So thank you for bringing that up. I wanted to take us back to this time in your life where you're living in Scotland with like Michael and Marion, I think, like at this
Oh,
bed and breakfast, and you start your
yeah.
Substack, and your Substack is all about cottagecore. And then you pivot from cottagecore, like writing about cottagecore, to like writing about intentional slow living. And now obviously you write about something completely different, and you just perfectly and beautifully touched on like you're trying things, you're throwing shit at the wall and like trying to figure
Mm.
out like find your footing. How like can you just talk us through like how did you know when it was working, if that makes sense, and how long to
Mhm.
stay in that pivot to like really get the data that is useful for you to like decide, okay, this is what I'm going to really give this a real go.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to start with a little backstory because I think it goes along with everything that we're saying. I was in Scotland. Before I had my visa in France, I was on a visitor visa. So my partner and I would come live with him for 3 months, and then I would have to leave and go to another country for 3 months. And I typically chose the UK just because it was close and he could visit. And I like am low key obsessed with the UK. Cottagecore. And so I needed a place to go for 3 months. And I studied abroad in Scotland for 1 year when I was in college. And I worked at a bed and breakfast. I needed to get a job so I could afford it. And I found a job at this 10-bedroom bed and breakfast. And it was the owners, Michael and Marion, a Irish woman and a Scottish man, and they were just lovely. They became like my parents while I was living there. And um, I had tried so hard to get my visa before that, and I found out I was going to have to leave France again. I was devastated, so I was trying to figure out where to go. And a thought just came to me. I was like, I should reach out to Michael and Marion because the hotel is closed during the winter and they have like a staff apartment. It's small enough that there's someone always living there, kind of like a housekeeper, making sure that like the guests are good and the hotel is good. But during the off season, they just live there and make sure that the hotel is okay. And I just the thought came to my head and I reached out to them. And so I ended up going and living at this hotel I worked at when I was, 10 years younger, studying in college. And again, it's one of those things where like I wanted the visa to work out so bad, but it didn't. So I had to leave France and go to the UK. And these 3 months in Scotland were so magical and some of like the most beautiful of my life recently. So I started a Substack while I was there because I was very low on client work. I was having like a very slow stretch in my copywriting work. As I said, I'm always doing a side hustle. And so I decided I was going to try to do a affiliate marketing blog. Like I was going to try to like make money through affiliate marketing via like a YouTube video probably. And I was like, I could do my own website or I could just like do something like Substack. I didn't even know it was like a newsletter thing. I just thought it was like a blogging platform. So yeah, I just started to do like affiliate article, like AI generated affiliate article blogs of like, like 10 cottagecore habits to weave into your day. And like, it was kind of witchy, so I was doing like 18 witchy Amazon finds and like just, things like this. Like I was just trying to like, it's completely opposite of what I do now. I was just like having ChatGPT write all of it. And then I was just like putting affiliate links in. I was just like, there was no soul in it. There was no heart in it. I was just like, yeah, this is just going to be like a little like side project I do to make money. I honestly can't tell you when it changed, but I think it must have been like when I started to subscribe to other Substacks and actually start to explore the platform and like subscribe to newsletters that I loved. Some of these were like Jenna O'Brien from Feelings Magazine and Brittany Vicklin from Enjoy and Lizzie from Parenthetical. Like these were some really fun, like creative Substacks that were talking about their lives. Like they were the main characters of their publication. And I think I started to slowly realize like this was not a platform for like mass marketing. This is a platform for like storytelling and individual stories. And so I started to bring more of myself into it and my perspective and like introduce myself and, set the profile name as my name and cozy living, just like slow intentional living didn't seem extremely drastic. But finally, like at the summer of last year, so about a year ago, is when I really kind of like, I feel like I had written like 200 articles at that point, because for a while I was publishing 7 days a week, which is so weird. I would not suggest anyone do that. And I think I had just written so many articles at that point and explored the platform so much at that point that I kind of was finally like, okay, like what am I passionate about? Like I always have been passionate about entrepreneurship. I've always been an entrepreneur, starting these side hustles, doing these things. I'm an American living in France, which is a unique angle, and I can tell stories. And then the main character energy thing, I think, just comes from, my sobriety journey. And I have this really strong belief that like anyone can build this life that they're dreaming of, that they want. And those kind of are like my big three like identifiers and life philosophies, I guess. And so I somehow kind of just landed on those three and started to put content out aligned with that, and the rest is history. Here we are today.
Lovely. You're something so interesting about like when I was working with you is like this concept of like pick your 3 content pillars. And really what was interesting about how you presented it is that these guardrails and these pillars should feel like freedom, like instead of it being like a cage. But I think that for a lot of people who have like an artist heart or a creative heart, like there's so many of us like who come on Substack and just want to write whatever the hell we want to write about. And when it comes to like the strategy side of Substack, and if someone says like pick your 3 content pillars, sometimes that's when the wheels and the rumination and the overthinking happens, because we feel so beholden to like, okay, what are the 3 things that I'm going to talk about for the rest of my Substack career? So how do you manage, or like, do you have any advice for someone who is overthinking and constantly tweaking their pillars or their positioning?
Yeah. I mean, number one, I would say you don't have to come on Substack to build a business. Like I primarily, what I write about on Substack and the people I work with in my coaching, these are individuals who want to build a business through Substack. And so we are like coming up with a strategy that supports that. But Substack can absolutely be a place just for creative expression, where like you said, you can just come on and write what you want to write, and you don't have to worry about pillars, and you don't have to worry about like strategy or structure. And I think that that's so beautiful and like not bad at all. If that's how you want to use Substack, like absolutely, like this platform is for creative expression. But I think if you want to, again, build a business ecosystem with Substack as a part of it, there is intentionality that's required. I typically say when people are trying to figure out their pillars, I ask them to think about things like, what are you constantly talking about with your friends, or what are your friends coming to you to advice for you for? Like, what are the values that you live in your daily life, and the things you donate to, or like the volunteer causes like you show up for.
Yeah, that's how you end up with a Substack where there's like strip clubs, pastries, and entrepreneurship. See, that's an exciting Substack. I would read that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But yet sometimes we take it so seriously, right? Like we look at the lens so serious. And I love that, like when you ask through the lens of like, what do your friends come for? Like there might be some really fun directions or angles that you probably didn't think of,
Also, like, what could you continue writing about for a year if no one was like supporting you? Because as we all know, Substack growth can be very, very, very slow. And so like if no one's going to like subscribe to you until year 2 and you blow up in year 2, like, are you going to be cool and have fun and be passionate enough to like write about this for a year without a lot of outside validation? Another thing is like, are you going to run out of ideas after like 2 weeks? It needs to be big enough that you can like explore this for potentially a lifetime. But I think that the biggest thing is like, you don't have to, number one, it doesn't have to be 3, like it can be as many or as little pillars as you want. 3 is kind of my sweet spot and my magic number. I wouldn't say as many, because that's just like, then you're writing about everything and it's way too much. But your publication can evolve. Like mine is the perfect example. Like I'm pretty sure I still have subscribers from like my Cottagecore days that are with me now. I don't really know how or why they stuck around, but they did, and so like
fans of you.
Yeah. So like you are allowed to evolve. Your publication is allowed to evolve, and it will evolve. And mine is constantly evolving. I just sent out a paid and a founding membership email today to both my paid and my founding members, asking them what they want, with a poll, because we're going to be doing some changes in the membership. And I said, like, what would you rather have in the paid membership, this or that? So, like this summer, we're doing some more evolution. Like, I think you don't have to be afraid.
I got that survey in my inbox, by the way. You will be hearing from me.
Good. Okay, good. You're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to change, and also a big thing is umbrella pillars. And so, for example, main character energy is kind of what I call an umbrella pillar. So much can fit under that. So if you are a person that likes to talk about a lot of different things, you can find a pillar that kind of acts as like an umbrella
Mhm.
that lets you write about many different things at once. Main character energy, I think, is like you could write about anything related to like building the life of your dreams, basically. So I've
Yeah.
written articles about like how to make friends as an adult and like how to get out of a slump and, you know, yeah, random things like that. But
Yeah. No.
currently, I'm doing like a long form serialized series of like main character, how to become the main character of your own story. But, you know, things like that, like umbrella pillars, allow you to write about like a number of things and a number of passions if that's, you know, something that you're struggling with narrowing down. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I just want to reinforce that like the pillars are there to like the discipline of the pillars will give you the freedom. And if it's not allowing you to stretch and as a creative, as a writer, then you got to switch the pillars maybe. Like it's not you're not
Yeah.
the problem, maybe it's just you're building a cage for yourself. So like I've had pillars that have been too small and then I just broaden them and all of a sudden it kind of gives me that little boost of creativity that I kind of need. What is the most like common problem that people come to you with?
Probably just that they're not seeing growth, you know, in the way that they want. They've been on Substack for a year. You know, they're still at 100 subscribers. Typically, you know, some like challenges I can just name off the top of my head and remember is like consistency. They're not being consistent. Or they're promising things that they don't actually deliver. So, you know, their about page says, I'm going to send this, this, and this every month, or this, and this every week, but they're not consistent and they haven't been. So, like, from the start, setting yourself up for success by committing to a cadence you can actually maintain once a week is completely fine. You know, like, don't be like, I have to post 3 times a week. So, I would say, people that just are like not showing up consistently and so people kind of slowly walk away because they're not getting what they were promised, people that are not utilizing notes, especially people that are not like being personal in notes, showing up with pictures of their face, stories from their life.
Mhm.
um, we want to see you, we want to know you. I always tell people that when you have a low subscriber count in the hundreds or like couple hundreds, your notes are primarily seen by non-subscribers, and so every note is an opportunity to like introduce someone to who you are and what you value and what you stand for. Photos do so well on the notes feed too, so like as many photos as you can put out there. Lastly, I would say just like turning on paid way too early and not understanding that like you need to free content is what generates paid subscribers. Like, as counterintuitive as that seems, like you have to open the door and like build trust and show who you and your publication are by giving away a plethora of free, generous content. So, not putting things behind the paywall too soon, just like giving your knowledge and your value away for free. I usually say until like 1,000 subscribers, so you can just like really start to build an audience. Um, those are some of the most common struggles, and then just confusion in messaging, confusion in, you know, like a why, what people are really writing about. So that's where like the content pillars come in, and yeah, those are probably some of the main ones.
Yeah, and you hit on so it's juicy. You hit on so many like really great points that I think to you is just like common sense now because you've wired your brain and done it so many times. But like the thing that kind of blew my socks off is when I signed up for office hours. What surprised me the most working with you was like how surgical you were. Like I felt like I was on an episode of The Pit. Like you came in and just like ripped everything to shreds and just got in there and just went like did it like it was just so surgical. That's the only way I can
Love
describe
it.
it. And my biggest takeaway, you gave me so much like to chew on and to like tactically change after the call. But the biggest aha moment was you were like, Aisha, your notes are not allowing like your notes are like written in a way where people have to know you to like really fully get it. Like you have to turn the language like outward so that a complete stranger is like, who, you know, something. And I thought like I would have to be more broad, but it was actually the opposite. Like be more specific about who you are. And
Mm.
that's like what becomes the thing that is universal about you. Like the more specific you are, the more you show your morning routine, your meditation, or whatever it was. It's like the more specific you are about who you are, the more interested a complete stranger will be in about what you're doing and what you're writing about. And so, like, discoverability was something I did not clock at all. And I have 15 years in marketing experience. So, like, having someone be like, yeah, none of your notes is for a stranger, they're all for people who would know you, really rocked my world. And I wanted to share that because so many people are struggling to grow on Substack and thinking that it's like their lack of talent or their like
Mm.
there's something wrong with their talent or their skill or their craft, when there's a huge difference between like lack of talent and skill versus knowing how to package your ideas for
Yeah.
the world to discover them. Those are two very different problems. And something that caused a lot of suffering for me was always defaulting to thinking that I was like I was a bad writer, or like no one wants to follow me, versus thinking about like packaging my ideas in a different way.
Yeah. And also I want to like let people know, and people know my story, but like I definitely almost gave up on Substack. Like
Month 7, right?
yeah, I think
Yeah.
it was like month 7 where I told myself I'm going to give it a year. And I said, if at the end of the year I have not had like meaningful growth or it's not doing anything for me, I'm going to step away and try one of my other many side hustles that I've attempted in this lifetime. And because my notes for a long time, it was like 0 likes for months and months and months. Then one note, it was around fall, I know, because it was like I was drinking apple cider. I think it was October. So like I was getting crickets. This was like month 10. I was on Substack and like I was getting like 1 to 3 likes on my notes. And then I did a note about how I like to like romanticize my Substack reading time by like having a cup of apple cider and like reading all my newsletters. And that note went viral and got like 1,000 likes. And then from there, it started to snowball. Like Substack started to show my notes to more and more people. And it's interesting. That happens with everyone I've talked to. Like one note will kind of go semi-viral or viral. And then it's like the ball will start to roll. But if that gives people hope, I mean, like that was October. So I had been on Substack for 10 months and my notes were like not really getting a lot of traction. So if you're in like month 2 or like week 2 and you're like, oh, like I'm getting like 1 like, it's like, chill. You're gonna get there.
Yeah.
It might take 10 months. You might get lucky. It might be like week 2, you're like viral, popping off, you're a hit. But it can take some time. And so just like that's why I think it's so important to pick things and content pillars, pick topics that
Mhm.
we're passionate about. Because when we're passionate about writing about these things and we actually have fun, we want to do it. We want to show up. If we just go into this thinking like, okay, I'm just gonna like build this into a business and make this my job, and we're not writing about things that we love, then like it's going to be really easy to give up during the slow times. And
Mhm.
so choose things that you absolutely love writing about that make you on fire.
Yeah, absolutely. Like channeling that joy and that playfulness inside of us will always attract, you're just minding your business, making your little drink or what beverage. And it's like, that's when the thing happens. Not if I look at you doing that and being like, oh, that worked for her, I'm going to go copy this exact
Mhm.
thing that was successful for Olivia's notes strategy or something. It's like, I have to find those like moments of joy um, within myself and like broadcast that to the world and like have it be like
Yeah.
super authentic. I find it so refreshing, Olivia, that you are so open and honest about like finances and how much money you're making with Substack. And as someone who grew up in a South Asian home, it's like I clench my pearls at the first time I ever saw someone online or on YouTube being like, this is how much I make on YouTube or
Yeah.
how much I make on Substack. And I'm like, oh my God, like there's immediately like clenching of the butt cheeks that happens when I see someone else being open with money. And then it informs to me my own, it triggers my scarcity mindset or like my maybe like problems with money energetics and things like that. Like what has changed about your money energetics for you to like be able to call in more abundance? Because I've just been noticing, you're growing like every single week and sharing those things, but I'm sure weeks or certain days where things plateau or whatever, or things stall. So how have you kind of worked with your mindset around money, and how has it changed as you've been able to actually grow and have 700 plus page subscribers?
Yeah. It's funny because I feel like I still really struggle with financial, just, like a lot of us, like I wasn't, and no shade to my mom, who I think is on this call. But like, I wasn't really given financial wisdom or like education, but like none of us really were, like it's not taught in school, like unless you teach yourself or unless you grow up in a family where like it's taught to you. Like I didn't know like how to build a budget or like, what I should want to make for a salary, or, I just didn't have a lot of financial knowledge. And I still have, I think, a lot of financial kind of insecurity in that I don't have all the knowledge I want. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm doing this year-long series right now, becoming the main character in my own story, where every quarter I'm kind of like working with coaches in a different area of my life. And in the winter, I'm going to be working with a finance coach because there's still a lot I don't know and I want to know, like about investments and like, why is it so freaking hard for me to follow a budget? And things like this. I'm 32 years old. I want to like be a bit further along than I actually am right now. But what I will say is, I think because I've always been so vulnerable about other things online, like my recovery and all of that, like starting to talk about money didn't scare me. I started by basically, it's like every month I post this note that shows exactly where exactly how much I made on Substack and where exactly it came from, every revenue source. And I started doing that because I found it helpful for myself to know, okay, this month, 95% came from notes. And so obviously I need to continue to lean heavily into notes. Or this month, like I started to get some paid subscribers from LinkedIn or Google searches. And so basically I just started doing it because it's what I wish I knew and I had when I was first starting out on this platform. I wish someone had kind of broke down for me, like where you could put your focus when I, was first starting my paid subscription, like, where should I put my energy? Should I focus more on recommendations? Should I focus more on notes? Should I do outside marketing and post my stuff to social media? So I think the fear was not really there when I started, and it just kind of evolved as I continued to create the content that I like wish I had when I was at the beginning. That's kind of the best way I can describe it. And some cool things have happened because of it. Like I was featured in the Washington Post, specifically because I was open about my income on Substack. The Substack team was, the Substack team is always like looking at our stuff behind the scenes, I guess. I don't really know. But the Substack team reached out to me and they were like, hey, we know you're open about your income on Substack. We have a Washington Post reporter we're talking to that's looking for people that are comfortable talking about Substack and how much money they make. Would you be open to being featured in this article?
Something that like I'm noticing as you talk about it, that I experience seeing you be so open about your finances, is that when we are open, right, about those monies and the like all of that stuff or cash flow, it becomes like we're releasing shame subconsciously in some sort of way around like money, and that gripping that sometimes we tend to have if we grew up not being able to really understand like basic personal finances and budgeting and stuff. Like it releases all this like like it's just releasing so much shame that we don't even realize is there. And it kind of is perfectly aligned, because the biggest thing I always take away from you is like give it away, like be generous, like be openly generous with people, and that's how it builds trust. And I think there's probably so many people who have like come to you because you've been able to like be generous about your finances. It doesn't even have to be about giving someone like the actual tool of money and the cash itself, but just being able to talk about money generously changes how we perceive money in our own life. And that's something that I think is all of us need a little bit more, to be generous, not just with how we spend, but how we talk about it and being okay with talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Something that you say that I love is, I want to live more than I work. I think about this all the time, especially the weeks that I have like maybe a tough mental health week and I'm white knuckling the shit out of my work and the dream, right? I take a step back and I always I'm like, damn, like I'm working more and not living in these moments, you know? How do you like make sure that you honor that priority and you don't like backslide into having those priorities switch?
Yeah, it's honestly hard for me. Like I struggle with it. And that's why I say it and continue to say it. My partner is French, very French. And when we first met, we were talking about wealth, and he equates wealth with quality of life. He does not equate wealth with money. So that's very French. That's very like European. Whereas I'm an American, and so I equate wealth with money and like hard work and building something. And just by being with him and by growing up and by, I think, being in a place like France, I have come to see how much I work compared and how much I value work, obsess over money, value money over other things in my life. And yeah, I want to live more than I work. My partner lives more than he works. You know, he's doing a PhD. And I think many people in France live more than they work.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's always true for me. I will say it last year, when I made the leap to go full time Substack, that was kind of why, because I realized I was working more than I was living, and I didn't like that. I didn't want my life to look like that. So even though I was not quite where I wanted to be income wise, I just said, I'm just going to make this leap and I'm going to take this chance. And I'm going to trust that by putting effort into this, it'll grow and it'll reward me. And it did. And I'm now making way more than I ever did freelancing. But, you know, as I went full time into Substack, it's gotten busier. You know, I coach people. I just put out a course. So, you know, I think it all comes down to boundaries for me. Like I only do 3 coaching calls a week. That helps, but I can very easily, between writing, between prepping for my coaching clients, between doing like audits for my founding members, like I can very easily find excuses to stay in front of my computer and stay inside. But I try as hard as I can to live by that motto, and let go of the guilt. There's a certain guilt and shame I feel when I do let go and when I step away and when I enjoy my life and when yesterday's the perfect example. I didn't start working until like 2, and I got like half as much done as what I thought I was going to get done. But like
Mhm.
the world didn't end and it was a really good day. And I ended up getting everything done today, you know? So just being a little bit easier on myself, trusting that it'll get done when it needs to, and just trying to be a little more French than American.
Yes, we all need to be a little more French than American when it comes to living and enjoying. Beautiful. So we're coming towards the end of our time together, and something that I do a signature part of the podcast. And thank you, everyone. We have 156 people joining us live. Like, this is beyond like any expectation. I just want to take a moment to like thank you all for being here and tuning into the conversation. I hope you've been getting a lot of value or feeling seen and mirrored in some sort of way. It truly means so much. I know you could be anywhere else in the world. So to be here live with us, like, I feel the energy, the collective energy, and I'm so, so grateful that we can hold it as well and shine this like much needed spotlight on someone like Olivia, who's like truly doing incredible work. A signature thing that we do, like, yes, hearts, yes. A signature series that segment that I do on the podcast is called Flowers, where I reach out to a loved one of the guests or their biggest cheerleader, if you will. And I reached out to Tamara, Olivia's mom, Mrs. Wickstrom. I don't know if you're here, Mrs. Wickstrom, or if you're at work, but shout out to
She
you.
might be at work. Yeah.
Okay, but I'll send her the replay. But shout out Auntie Wickstrom. So much love. She and I have been like emailing each other, and she sent me this incredible message. So this is a moment where I just want you to like sit back and take in a message from your mom.
Oh.
So this is what she says. She writes, "This is Tamara, Olivia's mom." Olivia was determined before she could be anything else. She was born sick, and she spent her first 10 days in the NICU. For 4 of those days, we didn't know if she would make it. I think back on that time and it's a stressful blur with John and I just holding on. The nurses were the first to see it. They kept telling us, "This one's a fighter." And she was. She got well, she came home, and then, no joke, I can count on one hand the number of times she got sick after that. I didn't know it yet, but those 10 days were a preview of the whole thing. Being Olivia's mom has meant the big stuff comes and my heart drops and I worry about her. And then I watch her find her way through it and come out the other side better than before, every single time. She has been showing us exactly who she is since day one. Olivia, I am so proud of you. We are all so proud of you. Keep going, sweetie. Love, Mom.
Oh, wow. So cute.
It's cute. Yes, it's so cute. Shout out to your mom. Shout out. I know that your family really held you down. Your dad, John, which is wild because your last name is Wickstrom. So he's technically John Wick, which blows my mind on so many levels. But I know your parents really held you down during your recovery, and you have such a strong, strong family. But I hope you're able to just like take in those moments, because I know you're like a shooting rocket and you're growing so fast. I just want to express that I'm incredibly grateful that you exist and that you've overcome the things that you've had to overcome to like be this person today. And I hope you just savor and take in the flowers every now and then.
Oh, that is so sweet. Thank you. Thank you so much. This was what a gift that you've given me. That's a really incredible segment.
You're so welcome. I mean, all thanks to Tamara, like, she's, yeah, as soon as I was emailing her back and forth, I was like, this woman is a baddie. She's so
Yeah, she
incredible.
really is. She
And
really
so
is.
it's very obvious where you get it from. I will make sure to link all of Olivia's links and all of her kind of ecosystem of all the work that she does in the show notes. I'll be sending out the episode next week, so I'm really excited to kind of just take the time to debrief and like reflect on all this that we've been able to share. And I also just want to mention that Olivia just launched, fresh off the press, an incredible course on how to go full time on Substack. If you are in a place where you have like a intuition, like a hankering inside of you where you really want to take your writing or your Substack to the next level, like I so recommend checking out her course. And so I'll link the course down as well. Is there anything like you want to share, Olivia, that I might have not mentioned?
If anyone here is from my world, please subscribe to our amazing host and Monsoon season.
Yeah, and if there are any things, again, thank you to the 161 people here live. How incredible. If there are things that come up, topics, things like, please slide into my DMs. I know Olivia as well, like she's very generous with her messaging and her commenting. Just leave a comment and let us know if there's topics or questions that come up based on this conversation. But this has been an absolute dream. Thank you for being a dream guest and just delivering and being so present with me. And I'm so grateful for everyone in this moment. Thank you. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Hey, thank you.
Love everyone. Say less.
Say less.